But then, you know, you evolve in the game, and then you have to come back to that city. And depending on your position in the adventure of the game or your level or whatever, you could decide that whenever the player comes back to that city, there is more instruments playing that makes the city richer.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, so I'm Arnaud Galand. I'm a French music composer, former audio director for video games. I'm here in Hollywood, being nominated for Best Music for Video Game at the Hollywood Music and Media Awards. And I just met you.
You tell me about your first musical memory.
First musical memory.
What about music? Or like anything you heard a song, like the very first thing you remember?
I think it was Pierre et le Loup. I think you call that Peter and the Wolf. You know, it's a account like for children's, like, but using that was the first time I was listening to music that was where all the themes were corresponding to a character. So you have like the bassoon for the grandfather. You have like I don't remember well, or the horns for the wolves and stuff like that. So that was like the first memory I think I had about music as translating characters into music and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, so you can do all that with instruments, and actually it works. Like, yeah, it makes sense.
Oh, wow.
And I was, it was, you know, this little small vinyl, and it's like you have a narrator counting the story, and you have the music in background, and it's very. I have this. Yeah, I think it's the first memory I have.
Oh.
Those. Memory. And then later, you know, I when I was like listening to Star Wars scores, like it kind of felt the same because like John Williams composed the themes for each characters and stuff like that. I mixed them all up, so that was kind of reminding me of Peter and the Wolf.
And what made you want to start? Like, what instrument did you play, and what made you want to get into it?
So so that was the piano. I was like really into piano right away. I think my mom, at the time, she was like ballet dancer, and she put me in school beside, you know, next to where she was. And then there is this composer, Carl Orff, the guy who composed like Carmina Burana. Later on, he created the method for children. That this is like for 2 years program. I was there from 3 to 5, and basically they put the kid into a context of orchestra with different instruments, and they analyze your behavior, you know, against instruments like that. So piano, percussion, and different like woodwinds, and it's basically just a contact with the instrument player and see how the kids behave. And then after that, they can, you know, tell you, okay, oh, your kid's really into piano and percussion as well. And so that, you know, it's in order to make sure that you put in your kid in the right fit right away of something that he feels right. It's interesting. I have no memory of that whatsoever. I was way too young. But yeah, and piano came pretty early. I think I went to the conservatoire. Not right away, but I starting with some teachers and like private school at first when I was 7, piano, and I think I've no percussion whatsoever until I got 16 years old. I say, Mom, I want to play drums. So then I started drums, and I told him in playing drums after piano, it made me. It was like kind of an open window, other things, because I had a very rhythmic. I developed a rhythmic. Way to play my piano, but then on the drums I was like trying to create no melodies, but, you know, having the drums singing by itself, having like, you know, the breaks to have like a sense of melodic within the percussion instrument.
So were you tuning the drums? So
No. It's not that level. It's just like the phrases that I chose. It was like something that you could sing, like, you know, like a break, not like but something more creative, like more like what I would do in the piano rhythmically, for instance. As a transition, for instance, and I was trying to transpose that into drums. But it was super cool, like, because like, wow, the window opens on many things.
Oh, nice.
So having the melodic instruments and plus rhythmic instruments, playing both, it was like pretty cool.
So talk a little bit more about that, because like pretty much the audience here are musicians.
Oh, okay.
So as opposed to general public.
Mm.
So talk about like how was that transitioning from piano to drums?
I first started playing regular stuff, different styles, different techniques. Then I was really into jazz. Oh.
Emmy, Emmy, do it quieter, baby.
Yeah, just like trying the different styles, but I was very into jazz. Piano, I was like trying to, at that time I was starting playing with big bands at the CONSERVATORY in Cannes. And it was a great experience. And I was like actually jumping from piano to drums sometimes. So some gigs, some concert we were doing, I was on a drum. Some other ones, I was on piano, and I was like super cool. Then I tried to listen more jazz drum player, and like people like Steve Gadd and Vinnie Colaiuta and the Weckl. The Weckl was a kind of an alien at the time. He was like playing like crazy. The people were calling him Master of Time. Some people didn't like him because he was like too technical or something like that. But I think there was a trigger there for me because he was the way he was playing. Even he was the first drummer I could remember all the solos. I could sing the solos all of it again, because he has a melodic approach of how to play these drums. Not talking about the beat itself, but everything in between, or some groove as well. Like he's like dancing. There's a relationship with the drum that I was like, and I tried to feel this thing a bit and try to apply that in my music when I was playing drums, but when I was playing piano too. So I was developing more rhythmic techniques, but using the piano, for instance.
Oh wow.
So like kind of. Yeah, 50-50, and try to mix them all together.
Because it seems kind of like you see generally Lewis, right? It's like total pop spectrum.
Right.
But he's feels very percussive.
Yeah.
Compared to other people who are more legato.
Exactly. Oscar Peterson was like super legato, as you said. Like we were like, oh my gosh, all these ideas like coming, like a stream flow, like of great stuff going on. And some others like very rhythmic.
So, and tell me about your influences, like different. So you're saying.
So I was.
Jazz influence.
Yeah, jazz influence. But so when I was at Conservatoire, I was kind of a rebel. I was learning harmony, classical harmony, and I was like, wow, all these rules are there, and it's like that stops me. It's like I want to do this augmented fourth. Why is it forbidden? It's like give me the reason. Oh, it's on the Treaty of Harmony. It's like. So, and actually that's my jazz teacher. He became my mentor later on. He took me aside. I went out of the class. He took me still at the conservatoire, and he actually managed to teach me classical music or orchestration without all these rules, but having more jazz approach. And he's been very good with me with that, because I was like, teenager, 16 years old, you're a rebel. So, so don't put rules too much. So, but then he managed to teach me all these things, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. And I was starting to listening and a lot of film music. I was like suddenly passionate about film, about movies and stuff. So I was going to theater, when I was watching a movie, I was going to the theater 3 times to see the same movie, because I first wanted to see the movie, the whole thing, like just being blown away. Then the second time, as I was listening for the music specifically, I was analyzing why there's music here, not here, what's the reason for that, how it's connected between shots and stuff, and what is the language. So that was my second school, like going to theater a lot, and I was like listening and trying to understand the musical language to picture, So it was like, what are you talking to me? What are those words? Do
you remember the first movie where you actually like, whoa, you took a?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think Mission, the Mission. I think it's from Roland Joffé with De Niro. De Niro. He was young. And I don't remember. It has actually won the Palme d'Or in Cannes I think it was 1986. And music was made by Ennio Morricone, and that was one of the first movie that I was like, whoa, really touched, and understood the language, the power of the melody and the harmony with the beautiful Sordino strings ensemble, and behind it was like heartbreaker, and it would like really communicate, and it was like really phasing the picture, and I was like, wow, I want to do that one day, I like that. And so I was like going every time, and then I became very closer to John Williams was like the master to listen to, trying to analyze. I think when I was at Conservatoire, I had like an exercise. We had like for ear training. It was more like a orchestration courses with some exam at the end and stuff like that. And I remember I picked Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So that was just the main theme. And just reorchestrating everything, but hearing everything, that's like all the third horn, that. But I was really passionate about that, to like breaking down all the
Right. How many pieces are there?
Yeah, it's a regular like master score, like 30, I remember 30 parts, or something like that, and but that was pretty cool, and.
That's a great exercise.
And it's a great exercise because it really you understand like all the counterpoints going on, and you actually try. That was a good journey for me to understand the language of music as a language. All these melodies, all these phrases, these lines, they suddenly became something like we're talking. People using same. A sequence of words, and that makes a sentence, and then so this is exactly the same, and so it became to translate into stories to my ears. So then I really kind of understood the relationship between the picture and the music, and as a composer trying to translate that into phrase. Well, okay, what kind of story I want to tell according to what I'm seeing on the screen, and what kind of emotion I want to pass, to communicate to